Welcome to today's business meeting and budget hearing. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance. Thank you again. Welcome to everyone in the audience. Welcome to everyone at home. Again, it's Tuesday, May 6th, and 30 years ago tonight, I was probably walking into my reception, so I just needed to throw a little shout out to my wife. Happy anniversary. Thank you. What? Thank you all. So could we have the attendance, please?
Mr. Lucetti?
Here.
Mrs. Rowland? Here. Dr. Barnett? Here. Mr. Myers? Here. Mrs. Rivers? Here. Mr. Scheid? Here. Mrs. Tedesco? Here.
Thank you, Erin. So correspondence to the board, we did not have any at this time. If you think you have sent something between the dates of April 22nd and May 5th, please get with Ms. Aristi to make sure we see that. So I need approval, I need a motion for approval of the minutes of the Board of Education meeting on April 22nd. Motion? Motion, Mr. Scheid. Second? Second, Ms. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Any abstention? Motion carries. So again, tonight is obviously very important, our budget hearing presentation. Really important to get out. Remember to vote. We'll go through the presentation one more time. Then we have a little update from Robert Moses. So no further ado, Dr. Graham.
Yeah, the board can go into the audience. Okay, good evening. You all recognize that this is an off-cycle board meeting date. Typically, the budget presentations are earlier in the evening, and oftentimes they're on Tuesdays, so that's why this evening is a Tuesday at 7 o'clock, as opposed to our Thursday meetings at 8 o'clock. And since we had the Board of Ed here this evening, we wanted to include some business items, and we also asked the team from Robert Moses to do a brief little update. And so for anyone who's not able to join us in person, those presentations, both of the presentations, will be available on our website. So starting back in January, Mr. Bakke and his team had prepared the first iteration of the budget based on budget meetings that occurred all throughout the late fall into the early winter. And then throughout the course of the rest of the springtime, there were budget presentations at the public meetings. All of those budget presentations, as I just mentioned, they are on our website and available for public viewing as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Bakke, who's going to handle some of the slides related to the budget hearing that deal with the numbers, and then I'll have some slides that I can share that highlight some things that we're maintaining within the budget, and then things that we're considering to be enhancements to the current budget. So, Frank. Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you, Dr. Graham. So tonight, the first slide you'll see here tonight is an overview of our revenue coming in and also of our expenditure budget. So the most helpful way to look at this is to take a look at the bottom line, so total revenue and financial resources. And you can see the number of $153.7 million. That's going to be the expenditure budget that we're asking the voters to approve on May 20th. Where that number comes from, it's a combination of two things. So it's our revenue and our total use of financial resources. That's how we intend to fund the expenditure budget. Looking from the top down to the bottom in terms of revenue, our biggest source is property taxes. And you can see this year we're proposing a 2.15% increase. That is a property tax cap. So this budget is within the legal limits of the property tax cap. We do not need a supermajority. The total money that represents for us is about $76 million. The next line is state aid. So you can see that is going up much more on a percentage basis. That's almost 9%, which we're very fortunate to not be receiving either reductions in state aid or limitations in growth as some of our other districts. We've had relatively strong enrollment, and it's been helping to drive over the last 3 years. You can see we've gone from 60 million to almost 66 million. Now we're almost up to $72 million. While conversely, property taxes have remained relatively stable at 72, 74, and 75. So significant growth in the money coming from New York State versus the local property tax cap. The last line there is local revenue, so it's about $1.6 million. And what that represents, it's a combination of a lot of small sources, but the two biggest are our rental at Brennan, and also we earn money on investments because of the cash we have in our reserve accounts. The second part of the budget is the use of financial resources, so that's really district savings. If you've heard reserves or fund balance, that's all talking about money that the district has put away for specific purposes. And every year we allocate a certain percentage of the budget to help alleviate costs for the local property taxpayers for specific items. So that brings us all down to a total of $153 million. Okay, so this next slide just shows a little bit more detail on the property tax cap. So you can see the tax cap this year is $74 million. 2% is the New York State allowable levy growth factor. For us, that means our tax cap this year is 2.15%. Every school district has their own calculation of the property tax cap, which includes certain exclusion items. So that's why it's 2.15% for North Babylon. In terms of dollar amounts for us, that equates to about $1.6 million. Okay, and this next slide here shows a little more detail on state aid. So looking from top to bottom, our current state aid, and all these figures are reported using the governor's budget. That's the latest numbers that we have available from the state. They're reporting aid of $68 million for this year. We always back out universal pre-K because it is reported in that number, but it's not part of the general fund. We account for that in the special aid fund. So we take that out and we add in anticipated building aid that we know we're going to receive that the state hasn't reported in their numbers yet. So that brings us to an adjusted total of $67.4 million. Now looking ahead to propose for next year, we use that same governor's budget. They're reporting aid of $72 million. Again, we back out the UPK, and then we add in state aid that we believe we're going to receive that the state hasn't factored in yet of $1.4 million. And that brings us to a total projected state aid of around $72 million. It's important to know just the question has come up in the past about why UPK for next year is looking like 1.7 million, and for this year it's like 1.2. The 1.7 is the total available. UPK is based on a per pupil student amount. So what we are expecting to receive is approximately that 1.2 again, because we're not expanding the number of students that we have in the UPK program. So that's why that difference is there. Okay, so the next slide here, moving from now expenses, revenue into expenses. This slide is somewhat helpful to show where a lot of the increases are coming from. So you can see these four categories represent about 85% of our budget increase. So the biggest one is salaries of about $3.4 million. The reason why that's a high value is salaries represent almost half of our total expenses. We are a people-driven organization, so a small percentage increase on a big number like salaries is why it represents a key budget driver for us. Special education is another major area, so that's about $2.2 million. And again, it's just an increase in the cost of the services and slightly more usage of those services. It's not unique to North Babylon, but I think it's something that districts across Long Island are dealing with. Health insurance, similar to salaries, is about $500,000. It's a modest increase in terms of percentage, but it's just a very high number. So just for context, health insurance is about $20 million a year. Salaries are over $60 million a year. So a small increase in percent on those adds up. Technology is about $600,000. And again, that's a lot of investments we've been making, not only for student and staff-facing technology, but also infrastructure, cybersecurity. So that money is very well spent in terms of an investment in protecting the district and also just creating efficiencies throughout the district. That brings us to a total budget increase for those categories of about $6.7 million. So if you think back of a property tax cap is only 1.6, a lot of the rest of that money is being made up from money that we're getting from New York State. Okay, so moving into the three-part budget. So the three-part budget is just another way to show how the money is being spent within the expenditure budget. Everybody's going to be receiving two things in the mail. One's a 6-day notice, which looks kind of like a postcard, and the other is the budget newsletter. Those are both going to reference this three-part budget, or three-component budget is another way to put it. So the first component is administrative budget. So you can see here, these are all the different areas that make up that administrative budget. What you get home will only show the summary, but this is the full details. And it's by like functional code, if anybody is into school district accounting. It's done by function code. So for us, administrative expenses are about 9%. And you can see year to year, it's relatively stable. It's gone down a little bit from last year, which is positive. Where that money has shifted is to the program expenses. So this is everything related to the in-classroom. So this is really where you want to see the money being spent. And it's great that we are spending 76% of our budget in this area. So you can see it's everything from general instruction, art, music, extracurricular, even things like transportation are included in this area in terms of getting students into the classroom and everything going on in that classroom. The last section is capital budget. So this is 15% of our budget, relatively stable from last year, and it includes everything for the plant, buildings, ground, security, and it also includes our debt service and like everything related to the bond work, like paying that debt. The one area you'll notice is on all three is employee benefits. So each one of these categories is its own, like I said, functional code. Employee benefits is the only one that gets allocated because we don't separate those like by department, so we allocate those out on the number of salaries that are in each of those areas. So that's the only number that's reported a little bit different. Okay, so the next topic I have here is the estimated tax rate and impact for the average homeowner. This is a number that you also may see reported. So you can see here our school tax levy for 25-26 is $75 million, almost $76 million. The assessed value of the property, that's not something that comes from the school district. We get that from the town of Babylon. It's projected to be around $32.5 million. And then you have a tax rate per assessed value. And then we use an average assessment of $3,700, and that shows that the average tax impact for the homeowner would be about $8,625. We keep that average assessment stable just so that you can see an apples-to-apples comparison. Everybody's home in the district is going to have a different assessment, but we always like to use the same one to show what that would be. So in terms of a percentage, it would be the same as the school tax levy of 2.15%. So the tax rate for anybody who's trying to figure it out at home, it would be that $233.097. That's the number you would use on your own home assessment to figure out kind of what your taxes would be if you were inclined to do so. Okay. The last piece here is just the budget vote. So just a reminder that it is Tuesday, May 20th. The one voting location is the North Babylon High School. We are not doing voting this year at any of the elementary schools. We will have staff and signs at the elementary schools to redirect anybody who accidentally ends up at those buildings. And we have signs around the high school, hopefully directing people to the high school to vote. So that's all that I had, unless there were any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay.
You know, we definitely should say a shout out, a thank you. Like we said, everyone in the district plays a part in putting this budget together and getting to the final destination. So I did want to just remind everyone that also on the budget vote, it will also be the trustee vote that day. And we're doing the West Gym, correct? Yes. Right? So North Babylon High School, West Gym. So get that message out to everyone. It's really, really important. Again, thanks to everyone to get out there and vote. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. And we'll have, on the day of the vote, there'll be some spots reserved at the West Gym entrance for voters. There'll also be security out there and cones. We had a pre-planning meeting with our team internally, so it will be very obvious to people who roll up to the West Gym that that's where the voting is going to occur and where they go into the building. So thank you again to Mr. Bakke and his team, and to all of the budget managers, essentially the administrators in the buildings and the departments, who oversaw some of those discussions, conversations, and quite honestly difficult decisions at certain times in terms of developing the budget for the 25-26 school year. And that's all we have on that item. And now we're going to transition over to Mrs. Andres, Mr. Cassane, and Mr. Rogers, who are going to give the board and the community a brief update on some of the things that are occurring right now at Robert Moses Middle School. And they're of particular, I guess, relevant timing right now, in particular to the cell phone policy that we have at the middle school. You may have heard that within the governor's budget, there's an inclusion provision to ban cell phones and internet-capable devices in all schools throughout the state, K to 12. And so we think that we're perhaps a little bit ahead of the curve here at Robert Moses, and Mrs. Andres and her team are going to give us a little bit of an overview on how things are going so far.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. Thank you, everyone, for letting us come tonight. We are very excited to just share two important highlights that are going on at Robert Moses Middle School that we're really, truly proud of. One is us being a planned pilot school, and the other is our no cell phone policy that we currently have at Robert Moses Middle School. So when we were chosen, Robert Moses currently right now is a planned pilot school. And why we wanted to apply for the opportunity to be a planned pilot school was, one, Dr. Graham did tell us about it, but really we had, I mean, he did, but really we looked at it as an opportunity to really look at our 6th grade class. And in our 8th period, in our 6th grade world, we have a class called an exploring class. And we really wanted to move away from the traditional way we do assessment, and kind of really make it this amazing class for kids, and make it be a class where it was like real world problems and challenges, and how kids could kind of see how all of the things kind of connected across all subject areas. And to our surprise, we got chosen, and we were so thrilled and so happy. And I want to say why it's a big deal that we got chosen. There's only 23 schools that got chosen to be a planned pilot school. Only 3 schools in Long Island were chosen out of the 23, and Robert Moses Middle School is the only middle school that was chosen out of the 23. So I want to highlight that because it is a big deal. Let's see. Thanks. And one of the things that's really important also is, being a planned pilot school, we have New York State Education Department and Modern Learners, and they work with myself, my team, and the coordinators, and we kind of are going through trainings, and they're working with us to get ready in order to implement the planned pilot in this exploring class for our 6th graders. Oh, sorry.
So with the planned pilot, a lot of the work is around PBL and PBLA. And sometimes we live in this world of acronyms where we don't really know what everything might be. So PBLA stands for Performance-Based Learning and Assessment. And that is, like Mrs. Andres was saying, a chance for students to dive into some real-world problems, real-world tasks, and live in the world of inquiry, where they can really take tasks at hand and apply it outside of just kind of our standard and normal way of doing school, right? So it really is an opportunity that we have within this 8th period class for our 6th graders to really just change the way that we both teach them, the way that they go about some of their learning, dive deeper into some various concepts, and then change in the way that we assess our students as well. So for our work, a lot of this is, like we had said, going to live in that 6th grade, 8th period class, and we'll start there, and then we'll hopefully build as we, kind of progress with this plan pilot. But a great opportunity for our students to really dive into the work and kind of connect the work to both what's happening in school and kind of the world around them. So that's kind of the whole purpose of PBLA and PBL, and that's kind of where we're diving into it.
So what was our vision for this class? Basically, we want a class where all of our students are assessed holistically. So what that means is where we're really focusing on the kids' overall ability, their growth, their understanding. Another thing that is part of the vision is that we really want to actually develop real skills into our kids in regards to collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and problem solving. And this really aligns to the portrait of the graduate work as well, and really is going to prepare our kids for the global landscape. And our third thing for envisioning our vision for this class is really to design tasks that actually have real-world challenges and applications so our kids can see how it connects to the subject area in which they're learning. And how we've been preparing. Like I said, we're getting ready to actually implement and transition into the September 2025 school year. So the first part to prepare is we have been making sure that the training and the professional development has been happening and taking place in our administrative team. So we have administrative professional development where the coordinators and my assistant principals, they are being trained by Modern Learners. We also have a cohort of our teachers with one of my assistant principals, Mr. Kassane, who are actually getting professional development outside in regards to PBLA and how to develop tasks and so forth. We also, as I'm the project leader who has designed the tasks and the vision, and I have my own personal training that I go to as well through Modern Learners. And then we also have collaborative team training as well that we have to take place with myself and my administrative team. The other thing is we have faculty engagement. So what we are doing is looking at this work that we're currently doing, looking at where Robert Moses currently is right now, where do we want Robert Moses to be, and what are kind of some of the things that we have to do in between in order to offer professional development and supports to our staff in order to get there. And then the external collaboration is where's the school that's actually doing this that can actually help and guide and assist us? And the school that Robert Moses Middle School has been partnered with and who is going to be our mentor school is going to be Harrison School District in Westchester. And we've already had our first meeting with them. And their whole goal is going to be to help my team and partner with Robert Moses Middle School, inviting us to their school, coming to Robert Moses Middle School, and really showing us the things that make their school unique and remarkable in doing this work.
So it's really important that through all of this work, we really kept the motto of going slow to go fast at the forefront of what we were doing. Nothing of what we have been doing has been happening overnight. And here we have a strategic implementation plan that kind of shows just that and what Ms. Hassandras just spoke about. So the first thing is we took a lot of learning and we chose our first cohort of our 6th grade in the exploring class. That happened throughout the application process, analyzing where this would fit best in the Robert Moses culture. Then we went through our professional growth process. We worked with Modern Learners, we worked with the district administrative team, we worked with the coordinators, our team in the building, and we even brought in our 6th grade team and announced to them that they'll be our cohort. We then moved into examining current practices. 6th grade teachers went in and examined and observed each other in their classrooms. They saw some project-based learning that's been happening currently in their classrooms, a lot of which we're already doing. We just never really were calling it such. So now we kind of examined in a more finer detail of what's been happening inside the classrooms. We then moved to targeting our 6th grade implementation and how we can roll this out year after year after year for our sixth grade. And then finally, looking at our strategic scheduling. How can we best fit this in moving forward? How can we keep this and make this sustainable for our sixth graders and beyond in Robert Moses Middle School for years to come? So now, that is our plan pilot. So now we switch gears quickly and we get into our, not our cell phone ban, but actually we've dubbed our disconnecting to reconnect. And we wanted to showcase photos here because I think that's the best way to see how successful Robert Moses, the children of Robert Moses have been with this new initiative, right? They've taken to it well. They've reconnected. The hallways are alive with great sounds of children actually speaking together once again. The classrooms are alive with students interacting with one another. Not that it was ever gone, but it's really bolstered now and really improved that they're actually focusing on improving the culture in the building, focusing on bringing back the relationships. Our building's built on 3 R's, the relationships, the respects, and the responsibility. And through disconnecting to reconnect, we've really, I think, achieved that, and we continue to achieve that every day.
So why did we want to do this? The real reason is what we were noticing in Robert Moses Middle School by having cell phones is we recognized there were elevated incidences in our school that were all related to the cell phone, whether it's Snapchat or whatever. And it really wasn't a healthy situation for our students. We also recognized that when you have a cell phone in your hand, kids lacked having face-to-face communication with one another. If you have a cell phone in front of your face, who are you communicating with? Not with one another, but with the cell phone. And they really were struggling in having basic skills, in having a conversation with one another. And another reason was part of the decision-making is myself and Mr. Kassane. Mr. Kassane was part of a cohort for assistant principals. I'm part of a cohort for principals. We really ask principals, like, are you doing this work? What's going on in your schools? What's happening? And we really were able to get some wonderful, wonderful feedback, and there are a couple of schools that have started this work. And most importantly, we met with Dr. Graham, and he was open to listening to us and hearing our feedback and asking us to have multiple conversations with him, which I think was really helpful in walking us through this. And then the most important thing is you can create a vision and a mission, but it means absolutely nothing if you don't have your staff that's going to support it. So what we did was we had 2 surveys. We gave one to our students before we even rolled any of this out. And the interesting thing is all the students in Robert Moses Middle School said, yes, the cell phone is a distractor, but I still want it. And then we also gave a survey to our teachers in regards to them being able to teach in the classroom and educate children, and how they felt about the cell phone. So the surveys were very impactful in our decision making in wanting to go in this direction. What was part of the implementation process? I think the most important thing is, again, having clear guidelines with all the stakeholders, the parents, the students, and working hand in hand with the Robert Moses staff, because they've truly been amazing in this work. But I really think clear communication, sharing with the community, what's the process, what's the first step, the second step, the third step, the fourth step, making sure that letters were sent home. The staff got to see the letter, and I asked the staff to look at the letter before I even sent it to the community. Having full transparency, I think, was very helpful. And then also having the implementation structures in place. If students, the way that the cell phone policy currently works is students are asked to put it in their cell phone. However, in their locker. However, if they put it on their person, the expectation is that we don't see it. There's no cell phones in the cafeterias, the hallways, and so forth. We have some teachers that have phone storage systems, and sometimes they'll say to kids, if you have it and you feel like you might be tempted, maybe you want to put it in the phone storage system. The interesting thing is everybody wanted the phone storage system, but the but the implementation is going so successfully, no one really uses, teachers rarely use the phone storage systems. They're actually using them more for calculators instead of cell phones. So that's a good thing to report.
So when we went through it this year, we dove in and we wanted to know how are we going to be, or how do we know if we're successful? And we're going to talk about the data to show that in just 1 minute. But what we kind of observed and what teachers have seen as well is academic improvements. There is increased classroom engagement just from us walking around, and teachers are saying that students are more engaged. They're not looking to be on their cell phone. They know that they can't. So they're really diving into the work that teachers are providing. And that goes into kind of staff's observations of learning and socialization improvements as well. And like Mr. Rogers has mentioned, even just seeing in the hallways. The hallways are, you see students walking about, passing time is cleaner, kids are actually interacting, they're having conversations, and it really is wonderful to see that. And we have our passing time, which last year we had students running to get to class on time. Now the hallways are pretty clear before the bell even rings, which is nice because we know that students can get from point A to point B and they don't have the distraction of cell phones. On our end, we've seen a reduction in social media related conflicts. We had that in previous years where students kind of took things to social media during school. We can't necessarily prevent them from doing it outside of school, but if we can help to prevent it during school, that's a win for us. Greater participation in school community, whether it's clubs, sports, just involvement in what's going on. Students are interested to be involved and get involved of what's going on in our school, which is great. And then we have some supporting data. So we wanted to create a system that we would be able to tell, is this successful? Are we looking at this in a positive way? So we kind of broke it down by 2 different semesters. And like Mrs. Saunders had said, there are different levels of offenses, and each level of offense has a consequence that goes with it, right? And the consequences grow for each level of offense. So for our 6th grade, they were wonderful the first semester. I think that's what they're used to. They didn't know anything different. So they came in and they were potentially a little nervous to even pull out their cell phone, but they really did a great job the first semester for our 6th graders. Our 4th offense is in-school suspension in our restorative space, our reset room, kind of for our learning of students to what they did and how they can change their behavior and learn from that. So our 7th graders, again, who had it last year and had access to it, had some struggles for the first offense, a massive decrease going down to offense number 2, and only a handful of students ended up with that 4th offense. And then our 8th graders, were our class that struggled the most first semester, but we're still working on it. So they had 157 first-time offenders. That almost went to about half for second offenders, and then kind of broke in half again, and then in half again, getting to that 4th offense. So that was the first semester of data, and then we said, okay, let's stop here. We hit the reset button on everybody, and we said after first semester, we're going to start from square 0 for everybody, which was a nice refresher. We had an assembly kind of saying we're refreshing this process, so everybody gets a fresh start. And then in semester 2, you could see up to date right now that the numbers are substantially lower, especially those for our 4th-time offenders. So it's been working for us. Like we said, we have all this anecdotal data to kind of see how things are going, but we also have the number data, to show that. And it's a big testament to our teachers and to all of our staff, cafeteria aides, security, deans, everybody who's involved, support staff with this, who have really done a great job in being consistent on keeping up with our cell phone policy and having those conversations with students and following up with parents as necessary, all leading to the success that we feel has been wonderful so far this year.
So just in closing, we come back to the photos, and I think this really tells the story of the culture of Robert Moses. How it's improved. I was brand new to this team this year, so I was not part of the whole backstory of bringing this in, but it's incredible to see, being a new member, how well it's been received and how fantastic a program and an idea that Mrs. Saunders and Mr. Kassane had, along with the support of Dr. Graham, how it was rolled out flawlessly. So the entire step of the way, I can just speak to how incredible it was to see this switch and this change, being in middle schools where cell phones were allowed to be used, and now coming here and seeing it's not being used, and just the students coming back together has been truly incredible. We even had teachers in the beginning of the year come up to us and say, the hallways are so noisy again. And it's like, yeah, and they recognize they're noisy because the kids are talking with one another. They don't have their heads down, walking on their cell phones, walking from class to class, but they're actually having positive conversations. So thank you so much. If you have any questions at this time, the team will be more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board?
Couple comments. First comment about the cell phone. I think it's great. I was excited when I first heard about it, and I think it's amazing to see the result. And I think that as the sixth graders were, kind of not used to having their cell phones, I think that Dr. Klomp is going to be happy when you send him the ninth graders next year, because they're going to be already prepared, and eventually the whole building is going to be great, and you'll also see it at the high school. So I think that's exciting, and it's good to see that we're ahead of the curve. I also, as far as the planned pilot, that's also for all of the skills that you mentioned. I think they're future-ready skills. And being a high school person, I could see that, the workforce isn't looking for compliance. It's looking for people with these critical thinking skills and all the skills that you are introducing to the sixth grade. So I think that that's something that's very important for our students, and it's great to see that we're evolving with our approach to instruction. So I applaud you and your team. I was lazy.
As having a seventh grader, I would just like to lead with gratitude and thank you, because he's fine as a student. I'm fine as a parent, and even though I think just the rolling out of this plan, because again, it comes up with, well, we didn't have this last year. How are we going to adjust? How are they going to do this? Well, because it needs to be done. And I would just, again, like to thank you for executing this, and let it be a testament that sometimes, even though that the uncertainty of what it's going to look like, when you put in the work and then you have this type of result, it's worth it. And I thank you as a parent. Thank you.
That's right, I'll get up.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
just a couple of comments. One, I think this is great. I think we were all excited that you brought this into fruition as the idea and wanted to get it done. This doesn't happen without great leadership, without the absolute collaboration and cooperation of your teams, the teachers, the students, and the parents. It doesn't happen without that, and that, I think, goes to your communication with them and your transparency with them. So thank you, and I want to thank all the other participants.
I appreciate that. That's very kind.
The other question I had is, what would you have done different? What misstep was there? Was there communication that should have gone out earlier, sooner, or meetings that should have been had? Was there any downside that was seen? The parents upset that their student was in ISS or something like that. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. When myself and Mr. Cassine met, we were told honestly that we should expect the worst for the first year. I'm going to be very transparent. I don't want to say things out loud, but I would have to say that the we've been very successful. If you ask any teacher, I think that we all, when we had our meetings with the staff, when I had the meetings with the staff, I shared that was told to us. But I think it's really, again, I go back to the parents partnering with us and having the conversations with the kids during the summer to prepare them to come to Robert Moses and transition. I think that was huge. I also think the continued conversations that teachers had in their classrooms on the first day of school and all throughout, I think that was very impactful. And again, I go back to this. You could have a vision. You can create something amazing on paper. It means absolutely nothing if you don't have the team and the partnership in it. And all the teachers were completely aligned. The parents have been aligned. The Robert Moses Middle School parents have been aligned with us. And I think that's why it's successful. So I don't want to take all the credit. And I want to say thank you to the board, because we are right now, the board had to support us to kind of go out into the deep water and allow us to do that. So I do want to say thank you, because we didn't know how it was going to turn out, and we're very fortunate that it turned out this way, because it's huge. So now we're sitting back and we're kind of like, okay, we're good. We can go to the next year.
So please express our thanks to the entire staff.
I
Thanks.
will.
Any other questions from the board? And certainly I want to thank the board as well for their support on the decision, and the community. There are a little bit over 1,000 students at the middle school. On this matter, when we rolled it out, I got 2 emails. One was, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The other one was, how are you going to do this? There's no way this can happen. They were understandably upset, but I haven't heard anything since. It was 2 emails on this from a community of learners of over 1,000 students. So it's a team effort, starting from the Board of Education, the support of the community, certainly to Stephanie and her team. Thank you.
So let's just hope that data can transcribe into the high school with the same stats, and we'll all be happy. And again, just to Dr. Graham for foreshadowing and seeing what was coming down the pike. That's from being involved and knowing what's going on. So we did this test, and little did we know there was a possibility it might come down the line. And sure enough, we are here now and addressed with not having to do it at the high school and the middle school at the same time. That might have been really fun. So also great stuff. So thank you for that, Dr. Graham. All right. Okay, so public participation. This section gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize residents who wish to raise a question, make a statement on agenda items and agenda items only. Time available 5 minutes. We ask you to come up to the mic, state your name and about location, and voice your concern or comment. Anyone? Come on up. Can we make sure that mic's on, please? Thank you, Barbara.
Hello can everybody hear me? Okay, good evening to the school officials and teachers and everyone who is here today. My name is Gail, and I am a grandma and concerned neighborhood, I guess, community member, you could say. I don't have an agenda in front of me or anything, but I do want to very quickly, because I understand there is a time limit, partner with you, hopefully, and advocate for metal detectors in our schools. Walk through metal detectors, scan a high volume of students.
Could I just
and
interrupt you 1
visitors
second, ma'am? Excuse me.
Before.
So this is for the agenda items. So there'll be another section, a little
Okay.
Just give me a couple minutes to get through some things.
Oh,
And then we'll
sure.
invite you back up.
Okay.
Because there's a time for those type discussions.
Certainly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there another bulletin I could have?
An
Or,
agenda?
program,
Yeah,
an
we can
agenda?
get
Yeah.
one. Do we have
Thank you.
a public one? No, it's on. So it's just anything, it's two discussion points. One
I see.
discussion point is about agenda items, so that
Okay.
topic isn't on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
So we'll invite you up at an alternate time in a few
Thank you.
minutes
Okay.
to talk about that.
All right, and just a very quick bravo to
No.
everyone about what we just discussed, because
Awesome.
it just really made me happy to see kids being kids and talking the way they're supposed to and just enjoying school. So just a quick bravo for that.
Awesome, well,
Thank you
for
for
that.
explaining. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay. So we're going to move on to some business now. We have a policy, recommend the board approve the following policies for a second reading and adoption of the policies listed and abolishment of the following former policies, and those numbers are listed if anyone has any questions, and they're also here as well. So if you get a chance, if you have any questions about it. If not, I need a motion. Motion, Ms. Rowland. Second, Mr. Scheid. All in favor? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the superintendent of school recommends the board approve the personnel actions reported in schedules A, B, and C dated May 6th, 2025. I need a motion. Motion, Mr. Myers, second. Second, Ms. Rivers. All in favor? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I have omnibus from A through H. A through H, a couple topics on there. You get a chance to take a look. If I need a motion, please. Motion, Ms. Tedesco, second. Second, Mr. Myers, all in favor? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. So this is the part of the meeting where we talk, according to Board Policy 1230, this section of the agenda gives the Board of Education opportunity to recognize residents who wish to raise a question, make a statement on matters including but not limited to agenda items. So the same rules, if we please step up, say your name, about what area you live in, and you can talk about your concerns. So, ma'am, this would be a perfect time. And thank you for joining us.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me and for taking time to listen. My name is Gail, and of course, I am a North Babylon resident. I've recently been doing some research. My biggest concern is the safety, of course, of our children, teachers, and everyone in the community. And so, like I said before, I'd like to partner with you and advocate for metal detectors to be installed in our school district. Walk-through metal detectors will scan a high volume of students and visitors before they enter the school building. Walk-through metal detectors are not intrusive. Students need only walk through the metal detector to be scanned. Metal detectors locate the weapons and the carriers of the weapons before they enter the school building. Metal detectors can be plugged in or charged with a 24-hour battery. Metal detectors act as a deterrent to students and visitors carrying weapons because they realize that they will be scanned for weapons before they enter the school building and immediately caught. A vestibule is used to momentarily stop people from entering the school building without an appointment. Sadly, this is not effective in protecting our students because some students are bringing weapons to school and the students are not stopped at the vestibule. Dangerous visitors can have fake IDs made to gain access to our school buildings. The Patchogue School District found bullets in the vestibule of one of their schools. Metal detectors are cost-effective. The metal detector costs less than a vestibule and is able to protect our children and teachers and everyone in the school building 100% better than a vestibule. A representative will come to the school district and set up the metal detector. A representative from a metal detector manufacturer will come to the school district to give a demonstration of how the metal detector works. We must take preventative measures to ensure the safety of our children, teachers, and everyone in the school building. We need metal detectors installed at the schools in the North Babylon School District. We must take preventative measures. We cannot afford to wait to see if we need it, because by then, there's already been a problem. We have to act immediately. My name is Gail. I have my contact number here and my email address, and if you will allow me, I can pass these out for you to review according to your own time.
Yep.
Does anyone want to ask me anything?
No, what I'd say, first off, I want to say thank you for coming up and speaking. You can definitely hand that to Ms. Aristi.
Okay, wait, I have a few.
Okay, perfect. And, you know, she will get that with Dr. Graham. Just so you know, the safety and security of this school and our children and our staff is the utmost highest regard from every single one you see up here and every single employee here and probably every community member, including yourself. So thank you, and we'll take a review of your information, and we'll of course work with you. And Dr. Graham will reach out.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else with any questions? Or okay, come on down.
Hi, Karen Schmidt. First, as a middle school teacher and parent, I could not be more happy that there is a cell phone ban in the middle school. And I'm very much looking forward to the district-wide, statewide bell-to-bell ban next year, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you guys are going to choose to implement that policy. That's one. Two, question. Same question I asked last time. Are you able at this point to provide an update on the reports adopted 2 meetings ago, specifically on the agreement to share contents with authorities for further action?
Unfortunately, at this time, no.
Do we have a timeline when there'll be an update available?
So there's always a timeline that we're on, and just so I can explain this a little bit too, is you know, the board meets on certain nights, and we can only work as a team. Also there's stuff that happens in the background. The council that we hired is working in the background, working on things. So as we have business meetings, if there's something that we can do, we typically will have an executive session to talk about it, and then we would do business out front. So there was no executive session at all scheduled for this meeting, as Dr. Graham had said. It's typically just to present the budget hearing, but there was some business that we needed to get done before May 20th. That's the business actions we did tonight. So our next business meeting, we anticipate having maybe on the night of the vote. If not, it will be at the meeting after that, which I think is the 29th. Okay.
Simply because, as far as I understand, it was a $52,245.11 investigation. I very much am interested to see what that yields, and if there are going to be, again, if we're talking about sharing contents with authorities, I'm thinking criminal activity, I'm thinking charges being filed. So I also, just for reference, I did FOIL the information. It has not yet come,
Okay.
so I'm still waiting for that. Is that June date still something I should be
So yeah, Lisa.
in mind?
Lisa mentioned that, and also I did have a conversation with Lisa that we want to get it foiled as fast as they can, but they have to go through the processes, and it does take time. I think there's a legal limit as well, so just, we can get that information for you if you need it, but I don't think we'll get to that point. You'll
Okay.
probably have it before then, at least that's what we hope. But, I mean, yeah, we understand the expense, we understand the transparency, we can share what we can share, and we will share as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no one else coming to the mic tonight, that is the end of our meeting. Again, I just want to reiterate the fact of the vote at the high school, one location, lots of signs. Please tell your friends to get out and vote for our students, for our staff, for our kids, for our community. It's a great budget with lots of good things, and we need it to pass. So can't tell you to vote yes, but I can tell you not to vote no. I don't know, I can't say either one of those things. But I want you to have a great day. I want you to keep smiling, and I need a motion to adjourn. Motion, second? Second, all in favor? Have a wonderful evening.